Okay, so, oh, good. Most of you did not come for yesterday's session. Great, I can repeat stuff. So, yesterday's session, I was talking about production, doing production internationally. All right. Today's session is about doing mission work internationally. My wife and I, we are full time, right? And we do mission work, but we make movies. So how do you use movies for mission work? How do you produce internationally, right? Uh, so maybe let me ask a question. Since you are here, I'm guessing that you have interest in filmmaking in foreign countries. If not, you're in the wrong session. Okay. So why do you think we should produce movie in developing countries? I'm basically talking about developing country, not developed country. All right. So yesterday I talked about developed and developing country because it's just making movies internationally. But today we're talking about. I do not like to use the word third world country. It's very derogatory. All right. So we use the word developing country because they are developing. Third world is like, okay, I'm first world, you're third world. Okay? It's just very downgrading to people. So developing country is what we're talking about. So think about places that there's not first world. All right? So why do you think we want to produce movies in the developing country? Anybody? Yes.
To bring like a godly influence to a country that might have that.
Okay.
And
So
I know even here in the United States, like Hollywood versus Christian filmmaking, you can see a huge difference there.
yeah. Yeah.
So I think bringing that over to any country, especially if you're not like, well, if you consider the U.S. a Christian country,
Yeah.
but like bringing that over and seeing how we act compared to like other people, I think we can be a good influence to them.
So you are talking about evangelizing, right?
Yeah.
Basically, yeah, right? Yeah,
Like
yeah,
they see
that's a good one.
They see
Yeah.
that we're different.
Yes.
And it's even if they're in the film industry and then they get onto like a Christian film set and they notice like we're nicer, we're not cursing at your face all the time. Like as
Yeah.
somebody who's worked on sets like that. Like,
Yeah. And you hit a very important point, all right? You go there and you say you're a Christian and you're making a movie and you are a jerk. Guess what? You have just killed the gospel there, right? A lot of us, we get very stressed, but how do we handle the stress in that kind of situation? Anybody else? Basically, when we talked about producing a developing country, we're talking about doing mission work, right? Sometimes, it's cheaper there, right? Sometimes your story originates there, so you got no choice but to do it there, and it's going to be cheaper anyway, right? So now, here's another question for you all. Since you're here, I'm gathering, some of you just want to hear, some of you have some ideas of what you want to do. Where would you like to make a movie? Anybody?
I grew up as a missionary kid to Mexico, so Mexico would be prime
Okay.
place for me, or any Spanish-speaking country.
So Mexico, good one, but it's a huge country. And people are very diverse, right? We think a Mexican, they're all the same. No, they're not. So where specifically do you have any idea?
Well, I grew up in Hermosillo, Sonora, so it's on the upper part of the country. And there's a lot of indigenous people in the Spanish speak. There's a lot of stories, a lot of missionary stories there too.
So you're not talking about just Mexican, but indigenous Mexican, right? Because there's a lot of Mexican that are crossbreed, if I can allow me to use that word. A lot of Spanish influence and all that. Anybody else? I think you want to do one in
Cambodia.
Cambodia, that's right.
Puerto Rico.
Puerto Rico, yes. Anybody else? Sorry?
Uganda.
Uganda, okay.
I would also love to shoot something in like Mexico or Latin America.
Okay.
But I spent like 3 or 4 years studying Spanish in high school, college, and I think it'd be cool. And through that, as you learn a language, you kind of learn a lot about the culture. So I've learned to like really appreciate,
Yeah.
not just Mexican culture, but
Okay. Great. So there's a bit of synergy here. You know, you hear, okay, Uganda. You know, some of you go like, oh, that would be cool. Maybe I can get involved, right? Mexico, Puerto Rico, Vietnam, wherever. All right. So I'm just gonna do a shameless promotion of my previous film, not the current film, but the one we shot in Mongolia. It's just a trailer.
This is a very special necklace with a very special story. Once upon a time, there was a beautiful princess who took a long journey to a far-off land.
Welcome to Mongolia.
Why come Mongolia?
It's a long story.
I know. Good time.
I don't even know my father.
You here to find him?
Yes.
미국에 보내가 아무 나왔고 무슨 내가 나왔지? What do you know about your father?
That's nothing.
Even if you do find him, it might not be what you're looking for.
God loves you.
You're just quoting the Bible.
Bible, God's words.
That's too easy.
She make nice wife. Too bad you engaged. Baby is too bad, Godfather.
How long have you and your fiancé known each other?
Not long.
Do you love her?
That not matter.
That totally matters!
Did you find what you were looking for? Please figure it out.
All women trouble.
Well, if you're going to marry one, women, even the practical ones, love romance.
Okay, but now I must prepare horses. This Mongolia.
I wish I had a grandfather like that.
God bring your grandfather in Mongolia.
So you came after me to give me this?
I don't want you to leave.
How romantic.
It was so fun making that movie. One of those things, experience that kind of a lifetime, once in a lifetime experience. Mary was with me in that set, and she was doing wardrobe, makeup, and hair. So what do we do when we go to a place like this? My wife and I, my wife Sandra back there, okay? She's the one opening the door. So I am so glad that almost everyone here are coming here for the first time, except for Rebecca and the two of them, which is, they don't count, so it doesn't matter. They work with me, so they don't count. So, see, we want to go to a country not just to make a movie. We want to train the people to make movies. When I was young, I went to a Baptist church, and in my teenage years, the Baptist Missionary started a media center. And they needed volunteers, you know, and they needed people to just go around churches showing movies. Some of you are old enough to know what movies are, right? The real movies, okay, all right, not online. So I was basically carrying a projector, movie screen, and the movie, going to churches every weekend showing movies, and I saw the impact of movies in the lives of people. Although these movies are all made in America, you know, in those days, right? Gospel film, Canada film, Worldwide Pictures, it's all white people, right? However, it still resonate and it still affect the people who are watching the movie. So I was thinking, if we can do culturally relevant movies, right? I grew up in Singapore, I'm still Singaporean. If I make movies in Singapore, for Singapore, it will be a lot more effective. But it's got to be well done, right? You don't want to do lousy movies, you know. In those days, we have an impression, we have this saying, it's a Christian movie. there's a different meaning to that. All right.
Still gets said today
Yeah.
sometimes.
But the quality of Christian movies are a lot better now, right? So we don't call ourselves Christian movie. We call our movies faith-based, faith-based movie, right? Or family-friendly movies, right? So we don't want to label ourselves as Christian movies. That's not a good label in the mission world, okay? Because you're trying to reach them, they know you're trying to reach them, but you don't want to. So in all our movies that we make, you will not see a pastor. Now, Mongolia, you will actually see a pastor, but a pastor is a wedding pastor, right? But you will never see a pastor preaching or sharing the gospel, because we want to show people that the gospel is shared every day, you and I, in a normal situation, and it's not like I sit down with you for 5 minutes in the movie and talk about Jesus Christ. It's very, to a non-believer, it's very boring. Okay, so it's an everyday event. We are moving around, and 30 seconds something pop up, right? Another 30 seconds something pop up, and then gradually it connects. So that's our model. So we will go to a country. We do a lot of training, my wife and I. We were just, our brother just asked me, when was I last in Singapore? I said 2 weeks ago. we were there for 3.5 months, right? We went to Vietnam for 3 weeks. We did 2 training in Vietnam. We went to India twice. Twice within that 3.5 months. One was one week, and then another one was 3 weeks in 2 different cities. And then we went to China, but that's for meetings. So we do a lot of training, and in the middle of the training, if the Lord says, go there and make a movie, that's where we return. But those people there in those countries, we have been helping them for a few years already. So they are at a point where they are actually pretty good. They have done stuff themselves. I will show you some of the stuff they do, all right? So now, the thing about making international movies is you got to be very careful with your budgeting, okay? Now, if you don't understand my English, it's your problem, not my problem, okay? I speak proper English. It's you Americans that speak American. No, I'm kidding. All right, but I do sometimes get too excited and I switch to speaking Singlish, Singaporean English. All right. So if you don't understand, please say, I don't understand. Like yesterday, I used the word pavement, and David was with me and says it's called sidewalk here. All right. In the British, it's called pavement. Right? But sidewalk makes more sense because it's a side and you walk on the side. Pavement, you pave the way, right? So, all right. So if you don't understand what I'm saying, just stop me and just, right? But if I'm on a roll, I will hang on first. And my wife will always wave at me if I'm going too fast. That's her job. Because I get excited, I speak very fast. And I'm usually excited. So, budgeting. When you work on a budget in an international film, usually when we work on a budget, we are working like 2 years ahead, right? Or 1 year ahead, right? During development, right? Costs change. In the US, costs don't change as much. It's pretty stable. But internationally, it can change very drastically. For example, right now, okay? If you plan to make a film right now, and we had a lady that was wanting to do a film in Lebanon. Bad time. Yeah. All right? It's a really bad time. Or if you want to make in Turkey, it's also a bad time. Okay? What about cost right now? Everything is skyrocketing because of gas price. Right? So be very careful about budgeting. When we did the Mongolia film, I went there in May to do budgeting. We were shooting in August, right? Everything is kind of budgeted, I know roughly, because we have always use a local handler to help you with budgeting. Don't go and do it yourself. Somebody you trust, somebody whom, normally you do not know anybody that knows film in that country, right? But find somebody you know in the country and who is able to say, this guy you can trust, right? I vouch for this guy. So we went to this hotel and they gave us a budget. Okay, perfect. Wrote it all down. That guy, my handler, forgot to tell him we are shooting in August. Forgot to tell the manager. When we went in July for prep, the hotel triple. Because nobody goes to Mongolia in May. Okay? So the hotel has nobody, you can have the whole place. Everybody goes to Mongolia in August, September, July, August, September, because that's their only season to travel. The rest of the time it's too cold to go there. Right? So I'm like, oh no. What happened? So, well, we couldn't use that hotel because it's triple, you know, we're not dealing with just 5 rooms, right? We're doing a lot of rooms. But when the Lord gives you a vision, right, He will find a way for you. So guess what we did? We found an even better place. We found this place. This person built this hotel kind of really in the middle of nowhere, right, Mary?
Yep.
It's like in the middle of nowhere. Why would somebody build a hotel out there? And there's nothing there apart from a few of those yurt
Wild
close by,
horses.
and the horses. And it's a 3-story building,
Yeah.
perfect for us. They were not finished yet, so they offered us $6,000 for a whole month. Yeah. Well, I said, sure. Paid them $6,000, got the whole place. And they just gave us the key and they left. Really, they literally gave us the key. We took care of everything. We cooked, we took care of laundry, everything. It was perfect. And then what did we do? We bought 2 washing machines because the hotel, it was still new. We were the first occupant, right? Some of the things were still not working. We had to fix it for them, right? But it was $6,000. It's perfect. And we had the whole place to ourselves. And then we basically had a retreat. That's what we had. So we bought 2 washing machines. And then I hired 2 ladies to do laundry. Perfect. And then at the end of it, we gave 1 washing machine to the church and gave 1 to the hotel, right? We gave 1 to the hotel, right? Yeah. They were happy as can be, right? And you come back from the shoot, you see our laundry all hanging in clotheslines out there. You go like, okay, that is mine, that is mine. It's really fun, you know. It's an experience you never have, but always have a good attitude when you go there. Always expect the unexpected. Right? Don't get upset. Think of a way to work around it. Right? You get upset. The first AD get upset. You know, and down the line everybody get upset. Right? Just find a way to work around it. And yes, Mary.
And don't expect to be on like American time frames because 10 o'clock is not necessarily the way it works. Like if you say, we're going to start at 10. They're not used to necessarily having schedules like that.
Yeah.
It could be 10:15. It could be, it just kind of rolls and stuff.
Unfortunately for them, I'm a sticker with time.
Yes.
Okay, I am a sticker with time. Yes, I am. I've been taught very well by my bosses. All right, it says if you're 5 minutes early, you're just on time. Okay, so the first day, I give grace, right? Second day, I give a little grace. Third day, you're not on time. You go find your way to the location, and they learn very fast.
But you do kind of have like a little boot camp day to try to educate
Yes.
them on all that because you have
yes.
you have to teach them kind of the expectations
Yeah.
in a way.
And certain things that the first world mentality, it's good to teach them. All right, like time, respecting. So one of the things I talk about time is that, you know, the person who is late, why is he late? Only the president is late, the prime minister is late, the king is late, right? The senator is late. Why? Because he's important, right? You can wait for him. You're gonna listen to him speak. I'm gonna, you are not that important, all right? If I can be on time, I'm your boss. Right? It's a respect. When you're on time, you respect the person. When you're not on time, you disrespect the person's time. And another thing I said about this, we have 50 people here. If you're late for 10 minutes, you didn't waste 10 minutes. You waste 10 minutes times 50. That's 500 minutes time, right? So I said, it's not 10 minutes. So those are the things you have to train people. Now, food, be prepared. Some of you might have allergy, and I am so. I thought she had peanut allergy, which she doesn't have. So, some of you have allergy, and you go to a certain country, it doesn't work. You gotta be really careful, right? Like peanut allergy. I was gonna bring somebody else. I think you recommended for hair and makeup.
Yes.
And she had peanut allergy.
Yeah.
And I thought it was her. So, and my handler in Vietnam says, no, you cannot bring her here, peanut allergy. I said, why? Because our people is going to tell you no peanut, but it's not guaranteed. All right? They want your business, they're going to tell you no peanut. So you don't trust them. So do not bring her. So if you have allergy, any of your crew have allergy, find out what kind of allergy, how deadly the allergy is. Peanut allergy, be very careful. Certain allergy, like if you are just allergy to the weather, that doesn't matter. Just sneeze a bit and it's fine. Okay? So those are things you need to be. So Mary, why don't I let you share a bit about your experience in Vietnam, and then I'll move on.
Any
So
particular thing? you want
No. So she came with me to Mongolia, and she was doing hair, makeup, and wardrobe. And then for Vietnam, she said, hey, Donna, can I do art? I said, yeah, okay. Find me a hair, makeup, wardrobe person, and you can do art. Right?
So you gotta find somebody that can replace you. And so I did. I got my very good friend to come replace me. And then I got to do production design, which is my newfound love since 2021. But the joy to me about this is that we are training people. I was called to be a missionary, didn't understand it really, because in my mind, old school missionaries were, you went to a foreign country and you worked with some local church and whatever. You didn't do movies. That was my Southern Baptist upbringing and understanding of how that worked. So I could not understand that until years down the road where I had a pastor, and I was like, well, I'm about to be gone for 3 months, just so you know I'm not ditching church. And he says, well, Godspeed, missionary. And I said, excuse me, what did you say? And he said, well, you're doing missions work through movies. You are sharing the gospel through movies. He said, that's what a missionary does. And I was like, never told you this, but, and told him the story. So being involved with what Donald does feeds right into what I feel like I'm truly called to do, and that is share the gospel through media or whatever means necessary. But with both Mongolia and Vietnam that I did both with, the training of the teams is kind of my heart and joy in it. Whether we got a great movie out of it, sorry Donald, that was kind of irrelevant to me. It was more about let's train them, because the cool thing about it is I can only tell so many people. But if I train this many people and then they're able to go out and tell, then I've just multiplied my efforts, and then they can go train again. They can train others. It keeps going. It keeps funneling. So I'm expanding what I can do as a missions to share the gospel around the world by doing that. And so I get to pour into these, and it's usually kind of younger than me, obviously, because I'm old as dirt. But I'm able to pour into these young people and not only give them skills, but I can also, if you develop those relationships, I can give them more. I can share more life things, more scripture things, more all that with
Tell
missions.
them about the miracle that happened in your life.
In Mongolia, I was one of those bad people that had all the bad allergies. I had a severe peanut allergy and shellfish allergy, had to carry an EpiPen at all times.
I do say that don't bring people with peanut allergy, remember? But I made an exception for her because I made sure our chef cooks for her only, all right? She don't buy anything outside, okay?
Yes, and then they also gave kind of
Not
this...
because she's Baptist.
They also gave like a speech during our little boot camp meeting about don't give Mary any of this because she will die. And so it was funny because the Mongolians thought that was the most horrific thing they had ever heard. And it almost felt like I just told them I had stage 4 cancer, because they were coming up to me and telling me, we're going to pray, we're going to fast, we're going to pray that God will deliver you of these allergies. Well, my little Western mindset, I'm going, that's cool. But in my brain, I'm thinking, over here, you have an allergy, you just don't eat it, and you go on with life. You don't think of it as this crisis point. Well, they were dead serious about, we are praying, we are fasting, to the point that the day we were flying back from Ulaanbaatar, Mongolia, back to China to come this way, I had a lady go through, we were already past security. She comes through security. Apparently she used to work as somewhere with an airline and could get back there. And she comes to me and she puts her hands on my shoulders and she's like this close to my face and she is weeping. And she says, before you leave, I just wanted you to know I will continue to pray and to fast for your deliverance. And of course, I'm deeply moved. I'm thanking her so much, and she hugs my neck, and she goes off crying. And I'm like, wow, that is so cool. Well, then we rock forward 2 years because I'm not about to go pop a peanut to find out, and I'm not about to go eat some shellfish. So I accidentally eat something with peanuts, and I didn't even realize until about, a week later when I was reading something and I realized it had ground peanut powder in it. And I went, wait a minute. I didn't react. And I thought, I wonder. But I still wasn't brave enough to go pop a peanut. Well, then I had my husband go, maybe you ought to just try a little crawfish at this crawfish boil, because his family does these big crawfish boils, or did. And he said, you got your EpiPen, right? And I'm like, yeah. And mind you, he was a veterinarian, so he had a medical training. He says, bring your EpiPen. So here I am, and I have the EpiPen, and he says, just take one bite. So I took one bite. I'd never had crawfish in my life. And so we wait and stuff, and I said, you really just want to stab me with an EpiPen. But we go on, and no reaction. And he said, well, I think you're healed. So since then, I've had shrimp, I have had lobster, I've had crab claws, I've had all the things, and no reaction. The good stuff. So God has 100% healed me from the prayers of the Mongolians.
See?
So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. The Western mindset, right? We talk about God still do miracles, but do we believe? Right? Do we believe it's going to happen? That's a different thing, It's easy to say, I believe that God is going to do a miracle and all that. But when you're faced with it, do you really, really believe that He's going to do a miracle in your life? Okay? So we have a lot of fun in Mongolia. We did a lot of stuff. Before I go into Vietnam, I'm going to ask you a question. Actually, not a question. So for us, I bring heads of department with me. All right, so hair makeup, DP, first AD, art, all those fun stuff, right? I bring them along. But every one of my crew, normally I've made 3 movies in the US, and it's not necessary that you must be a Christian, right? Sometimes Christians are more difficult to work with. You gotta do the love, the Bible, and all that. I pay you, just do your job, right? So non-Christian, you don't have to deal with those things. They understand that's a job, you pay me, I do the job. But when we go overseas, we only work with Christians, right? Because our purpose is to train them. So the heads of department, all these are now like my closest friends here. I'll call them out and say, hey, I don't have much to pay you. You want to do it? She'll say yes. Okay? So we still pay everybody something, right? But the core is to do missions. So I said, Mary, Shane, your job is to train everyone in your department how to do your job, so that we don't have to come back anymore. Then we have succeeded. So we will hire 4 or 5, however many Mary asked for, or anybody asked for, and then train them. I said, okay, these are the locals. So even for the people we train in the local, I have my handler, remember? Right? He will pick them. Because I do not know any of these people. A lot of time I don't even speak their language, right? So he will pick them for us, and he will be very selective. And we salary them, although they are in training, interns, all right? They're in internship. Normally you don't get paid, but we pay them because for one simple reason. These people in those countries, Mongolia and Vietnam, India, hand to mouth. They don't have savings. And if we expect them to work with us for 1 month, without anything, what kind of Christian witness are we giving them, right? So, and and these people almost all of them live with their parents, young people. So if they, as Asians, we bring home money, we give money to our parents. That's expected. They feed you all your life. When you work, you contribute to the family. So if they have nothing to contribute to the family, that's terrible. But for them to come back and say to the parents, like, hey, I'm working in this film, it's a Christian film. A lot of them, the families are not Christians. They are first generation. So I'm working on this film, and they're feeding me, I'm staying there and all that, and they're still paying me. Kind of witness that they can put together for their family, right? So now how much do we pay them? We don't pay them a lot. Not the rate here. I go there and I said, find out how much is somebody who works in McDonald's paid. If there's no McDonald's, Burger King, or any of the restaurant, the server, or any of those more blue collar job, how much they are paid. So it's called a stipend, right? But it's quite fair, and they are very, very happy, and they want it in US dollars. Right? They don't want it in their local currency. We have to bring US dollars to give to them. Yeah. So it's so always, and as I'm teaching people, I do this all the time. I go we have studios in China now, we have studio in Mongolia, we have studios in Vietnam, in India, and one of the things I teach them is this: when any missionary come to you and ask you to help them with a production, I said, please charge them something. Unless because most of them have no money at all, right? I said, build a budget to charge them. Don't just do it for free, just because it's a mission. Well, then they look at me like very puzzled. I said, you're that missionary that come and ask you? He didn't do anything for free, He's got a salary. He's got people who support him. You work for him for free for 1 month. Ask him to do that same thing for 1 month, right? So I go there. I told them, I come here. I'm doing training for you. I have supporters who support me. That's my job. You can't be doing. You have to replace equipment. You have to do, all this stuff, right? So budget a little bit to help. And I said, if they really need your help, if they really need your product, they will find a way to raise the money. If they can't raise the money, it's usually because you are free. You don't cost anything, and they're like, oh, I get to do a free video. You follow me? So why I'm saying this to you is that if you are doing mission, take care of the people there. It speaks volume. Right?
And tell them why you don't give them our Americanized, they don't have much, let's give them this big amount.
Oh yeah. We don't like, for example, I don't give them $100 a day. All right? Why? Because the next missionary that comes, they are going to expect $100 a day. So we spoil the market for them. So you got to be very careful. Although you have the money, doesn't mean you must give it to them. If you want to do it in another way around it. Let it not come from you. We don't have to get the credit, correct? If you have budget for $100 a day and you want to give it to them, they don't need it. Give it to another organization that need it, all right? Or give the money to somebody to give to them.
Yes.
So it doesn't need to come from you because you will affect the next person that comes after you. Please, all right? Okay, good one. So Shane was with me in Vietnam, and he was the first AD. So can you share a bit of an experience as a first AD? What? Line producer. Yeah, line producer. Sorry.
Yeah. So
There's a microphone
you
here.
go stand. I had to go stand. No cheating.
what would you? Any specific?
Oh,
Just
just your experience, yeah.
Yeah. So we went to Vietnam and line producer. So a lot of it is budgeting. So we're talking about this. It's also a lot of logistical support, and so Kelvin was our guy that we were working with, our local fixer. So from that perspective, I just share that it's very important that you find a local partner that you can work with that understands the culture, they have connections, and they're a believer, and because one, they have the heart for what they're trying to do, they're trying to reach their culture, they want experience, and so you're exchanging information. But the other thing is they have contacts. So Kelvin was a former gang member that got saved.
Oh yeah.
And so he had connections all over the place, and God brought him to Donald, and we met when I got there. And so I would just say spend time finding a good local partner that you can work with, because they will save you so many headaches. They will, plus become a good friend. Kelvin's he's a great guy. But it's just one of those things. I would just say take the time to pray and ask God to bring someone who can partner with you in that way. That it's just really important. We would go down to the docks, and we wanted to film down on the waterfront, and we needed a boat that we could be on for this one scene. And we go down there, and it's like, well, we're gonna shoot on 2 days from now, and he's like, we'll find somebody. And he goes down there, we just walk along, he goes up to somebody and says, hey, we need your boat on Thursday. And we're like, really? That's all we have to do? And he's like, oh yeah, it'll be fine, we'll come back, no problem. And he just
No contracts,
Yeah, no contracts. Well, how much is this going to cost? Because in the U.S. you do stuff like that, and you can just get hammered with fees. And he's like, and I think, I don't know, $100 or something for like 6 or 8 hours.
You
do
like that. The money, I didn't do
I
the
think
money.
it was, and it's not all about the money specifically, but the other thing is interfacing with him to talk with them so that you don't get charged, because as soon
What
as
we
you
call
show up-
skin tax,
Yeah.
right? Skin tax.
If I show up and say, hey, can we use your restaurant for a scene? They're going to look at me, they're going to know I'm an American, they're going to be like, okay, well, obviously you have American dollars, so we're going to charge you X. Donald shows up and he has an advantage, and they will, and Donald can play kind of dumb, and he can be like, I'm from Singapore, and
No. I wouldn't say I'm from Singapore,
well,
because Singapore is a very wealthy country. I would say I'm from China.
And so he can share that, and they'll work with him differently than they'll work with me. And so when you work with a local producer, what that can do is that'll also help you in negotiating up front. And once you get farther down the road, you can have conversations, and so it'll end up being better for your production.
Great.
Those types of things.
Yeah.
So,
Thanks. Yeah. So what, skin tax. All right. So get a local handler who you trust. Kelvin is a godsend. Choktu in Mongolia was a godsend, and both of them are doing so well now on their own. It's amazing what they are doing. The local handler will save you not just money, time. All right. They have all the connections. But money is the big thing, all right? Yes?
Can you talk a little bit about how you found those people? How
Okay.
you met them?
Sure. We don't need to spiritualize everything, right? It's all God, right? But, okay, so how did I find Choktu? I was doing dubbing for Joyce Meyer. I do a lot of her dubbings, translating her work into a lot of languages. I'm actually kind of like a dubbing guru in that part of the world. So I went and do some dubbing for Mongolia, and I set up a studio in China, and we were doing the dubbing, and this Mongolian lady came to do the dubbing, and then after that, I was kind of like just asking for fun. I said, do you know anybody who wants to be trained in filmmaking, right? Because I do a lot of training. We do a lot of training all over the world. We even do training in Germany, So he said, yeah. There was this young man. He's been wanting to do. He's an artistic guy. He do a lot of he paints very well. He wants to learn how to make movie. So that's how I got the connection with him. And then I got an organization to sponsor the training, because my wife and I, we are just Lone Ranger, Missionary. We do our own stuff. So we have to always raise everything ourselves, right? So I got an organization to support the training and then do the training and then kind of like sit back and watch, right? See if they really just want to do a training or they really do stuff. So that happened and that's how I got the Mongolia. For Vietnam, it was different. I had a couple, missionary couple in Singapore whom we know very well. They minister in Vietnam, so they asked us to go and do training in Vietnam. And that's how I got connected with this other guy. And again, we observed him. Yeah. So that connection came from the missionary. Okay.
Can I add on to the Mongolia?
Yeah.
So what happened with him, with Chagtu, so I did a separate project in Mongolia, and I did not know that they had been there. And so I'd only met Donald a little bit before then. And
Yeah.
so this is in 2019.
Yeah, I connected you with
Yeah.
Choktu.
So I came to this festival when it was in Franklin, and I walked into a session on panel discussion on how to produce in other countries, and Donald and David and others, or Chagtu was there. And so I knew I was going to Mongolia, but I had a mission contact, but that was it. And so when I walked in and sat down, David Cook stood up and said, "We're going to talk about our film that we just produced in Mongolia, and our local fixer is here, and I needed a local fixer." And so when he talks about don't over spiritualize it, but God puts things together, that's a very, and it worked out and it turned into, it was, Chagtu's great.
Yeah.
But I'm just adding that piece in.
Yeah.
I think
I appreciate any question you have, just ask, okay? I'm not that kind of go like, okay, it's 12:15, it's question and answer time where I need to squeeze question out of you, all right? It's kind of really awkward. Anytime you have a question, just ask. If not, I'll just go on and on and on until 12:30, okay? If you permit me. All right, so this is Vietnam. We found this hotel, again, it was, by the way, the hotel don't exist anymore. It's still there, it's a different name now. We were there. Yeah. So this hotel, how much, Sandra, how much did we pay per night? How much did we pay per night? Do you remember? No, it was really, really
I
cheap.
thought it was like 10 or
No, like $7 or $10 a night. Yeah. I think it's $7 a night. I think it came out to like $6,000 again. Another 6,000. Mongolia was 6,000. There was 6,000. Now what we did was, although a lot of them are from that city, some of them are from outside the city, we made them stay in the hotel. Basically, because of what Mary said, time. Right? If they have to travel from their home, and then they come here, and they say, "Oh, I got traffic problem," that falls on me, right? So we made everyone stay in the hotel. We booked a room. It saves you a lot of headache, saves you a lot of money. And then on the weekend, they can go back, right? I never make my movie on a Monday to a Friday. Monday to Friday. I never do that. I always do a Tuesday to a Saturday, right? Because we always need extras on the set, background actors. Saturday is when they can come. No, not a Monday to a Friday. And a lot of time we also need to do our own personal banking, all this kind of fun stuff. You have a Monday to do it, right? Sunday, your rest day. Monday, you can do your own personal stuff. Saturday and Sunday, I don't like that, correct? So that's how I do. So that's how we do it there. And so we met, literally, we were not the only people in the hotel. It's a fairly big hotel, but we took over the whole base. The cafe, restaurant area. We redesigned the whole restaurant to our own liking. They didn't bother with it. We were very good friends with the front desk people. We just redesigned the whole place so that we fit ourselves. We bring in our own food. We didn't eat from them. They didn't care about that. Yeah. And then we found another place for shooting, and we were able, to meet at the other place also. This is the CDEF.
Yes.
Yeah. So this is the training. So we have 2 days of prep. I wish I could give more days, but I only can afford 2 days of prep. So Timothy has his own department, and he's prepping them, right? And then so the DP department, and he's prepping them. Yeah. So and then teaching them all about how DP works, and then what's his name?
Timothy.
No.
Sorry, Stephen.
Stephen is our gaffer. So he has a few guys doing gaffing work, so he trains them. See, we redesigned the whole place, and we have our own meal there. Okay. So first day of shoot. No, not. Yeah, I think I think the first day of shoot.
Yeah.
Yeah, right? So the whole thing is about training, and this is Jennifer teaching about hair and makeup. Okay? So, so it's all about, well, I don't have much picture of you because you're always on the other set. She's prepping art on the other side. Yeah.
Or cleaning behind or something.
Right. So on the first day, people are still learning, but by the second week, they know what they're doing. Right, Mary? Yeah. You still have to oversight them, like tell them, okay, I need this, I need that. Okay.
Yeah.
So now, one of the things you do is, okay, he has nothing to do with gaffing, all right? He's the line producer. But we don't have an attitude there. We all chip in. Yeah, right, just to help out.
Here I am.
There you go. See? So, we brought in an Indian because he wants to make movie. So he came in for the whole shoot, and he's learning, and we continued training with him. We were in India with him. Right. So, one other thing about sound is we actually don't have anyone understudying sound because it's a very small department. So I did a separate training, almost one full afternoon on sound with anybody that want to learn. And I thought it's going to be like 3 or 4 people, but it turned out like almost all of them came for the sound training. But because sound is a small department, but it's a very important department, so I can't just trust anybody to do it. Everything is physical, I can see, right? You set up art, I don't like it, I can change it. Sound, I have no idea whether you're getting the right sound or not. Although I'm listening as a director, I'm not really listening, I'm watching. Okay, so I had to bring our own sound people and let them do it. Okay, now every day we start with prayer, and as usual, because you're going to a developing country, they always have whether you like it or not, they have an inferiority complex, okay, standing beside you. So I said, okay, we have a prayer. Nobody want to pray. Okay, they won't want to pray. So I said, okay, wherever my team member pray, and then Calvin, your team member will pray. All right. So we have both. So one will pray in English, the other one will pray in Vietnamese, and then they feel more comfortable because we kind of like branch it into 2 separate teams, because they always will feel like, so Mary is praying, and then two is praying. Okay, yeah. So Gafford, so look, I'm the director, I'm helping. My wife, she's executive, helping. This guy's an actor, okay, and he's helping. So no such thing as not my department, right? Of course, Timothy, the cameraman, do not want you to touch his camera. Okay, there's certain things you do not touch, right? But they would love to come and take pictures by the camera. So we let them, because they're very proud, with nice setup camera, and they take pictures. We let them. Okay. One thing I do is so downtime boring. So one of the things I do is I literally, in Mongolia, I confiscated their phone. We didn't confiscate their phone in Vietnam, right?
No, we talked about it.
Yeah. Why? Because the first week I confiscated their phone. All right. Second week I let them have it. Because you tell them, don't turn on your phone, turn it off. I don't even want it on silent, because the sound can pick it up, the vibration. And they say, yeah. But somebody's gonna be answering a phone in the middle of your shoot. All right? They just don't have that first world mentality, right? Their culture is nothing wrong with that, Just, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. Sometimes there's something good about being a very relaxed culture and not high-strung culture. They're very relaxed people. You say, don't do this, they do it, and then they say sorry, okay? And they expect you to forgive them, right? In the middle of shooting a scene, and sorry, no, you can't be sorry. So we actually confiscated their phone the first week, and then the second week we said, okay, now you understand why we took away your phone, because they saw the whole setup, right? So, okay, we don't take your phone anymore. I expect you to be an adult, but we will still remind them, turn off your phone, right? In Vietnam, we threatened to take their phone, okay? So everybody behave. And then we said, okay, downtime, you can turn on your phone. And then when we are prepping and shooting, remove your phone. Okay.
So they did adjust, like it was.
Oh yeah. So it's all about teaching them, right? Because they do not understand. They will never understand. To them, it's like, okay, shoot again, right? Big deal, right? Because to them, it's like, okay, shoot again. But not for us, right? So when they see the complexity of the setup, then they understand.
And they also hear the quiet on set,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
the
yeah.
no talking, whatever, you know.
Yeah. So they all learned a proper way of doing things. Okay. And you know what? I'm proud to say that by the end of the both production, we have a bunch of people that has more of first world work ethic, right? I'm not trying to change their culture, right? I'm against going to any country changing culture. The American culture is only 300 years. China culture, Asian culture is thousands of years. Who are we to say we know better than them, right? So I'm about teaching them how to be better. Okay? So, but you know, you cannot find cool places like this in the US to shoot in.
Yeah, that was just a shed and we had to trick it out to be a house.
Yeah. Right. So Timothy, this is I have Timothy Jones and I have Timothy as his first AC. So I call him T1 and T2. All right, because it's very confusing. So in fact, it's so funny. He's stuck with T2 now. All right, everybody calls him T2. Yeah. So I went to do training in Da Nang again, and then in Hanoi, and he was there, and I everybody called him T2. Okay. So Timothy T1 let him handle the camera on certain simpler shot, you know, and train him. So he was so tickled, and he has his own setup now. Okay. Yeah. See, look, I mean, no attitude. This is the actor.
Yep, and then our line producer helping Art.
Cool stuff like this, riding a buffalo, right? You cannot do that. Find it. And these are things that you have to talk to your actor about. Are you comfortable doing that? Our boy actor he's a rascal, okay? He's like always like in your face. He's just so active, but he's perfect for the role. But when he got on the buffalo, he is so afraid. He was so timid. I have not seen him timid, you know, until he got on the buffalo. Yeah. See, this is by like the third week, they know what they're doing. This is the AD department, you know. Yeah. Yeah. And then we had an outdoor shoot. We just was able to do. We had to teach them night for day. Oh, is it day for night? Day for night. Yeah, day for night. All right. So we teach them how to do day for night. Yeah. Okay. So this is the dock that he was talking about. There you are. That's where we shot. Right. This is interesting. I'll end with this one. So I say expect the unexpected. So this is a different dock. Okay. And this is the opening scene. Everything was negotiated. There's a restaurant on this side, behind, and then there's some building that looked like school. Okay. So suddenly, out of the blue, just before we need to shoot, like 2 or 3 days before we need to go there, our location handler, which is not Calvin, all right, he said, Donna, that location we want to shoot behind is a military installation, and we need permission. If not, we need permit before we can go and shoot. I'm like, what? You tell me now? You know, I mean, he had a whole month, you know. So he said, and our friend Kai, he's really smart. He said, you pray, okay? You pray. I write permit, you pray. Look, when people do that to you, it's like, if I don't get a permit, it's my fault because I'm the one praying. Right? You think about that. Okay, brother, I'm going to do the work, you pray, all right? And if it doesn't happen because you lack the faith, you know? See, it always happens to you. You pray, okay? You pray. So I go, okay, all right. So we were shooting, I think it was a Thursday. Yeah. And we were shooting another scene somewhere else. We still haven't got the permit.
So we drive there.
Yeah. And then we drove there, right? I mean, we finished by about 12 o'clock, and then Kai says, we'll get the permit at 4 o'clock. I said, brother, the sun set at 6 o'clock. You know? I said, unless you're Joshua, you can hold the sun. You know? Says, okay, you pray. So we went there. We sat on the pavement, right, sidewalk, had our lunch there, right. Our caterer brought box lunch, you know, and then we sat on the sidewalk eating our lunch. And then I said, okay guys, the moment they say we have the permit, we go, alright? So at 2 o'clock, sharp, we got a permit on my phone. We rushed in. Now, and that's not my prayer, it's God, okay? So everybody was praying for that thing. Now the fun thing was this, military installation, right? They were not that happy. We got a permit, but they were not that happy. So what did I do? They knew I'm the boss, right? So all this culture, when they get a chance to interact with the boss, they feel important. So I spoke with the captain of the military installation, and I made an effort to make him my best friend. and he became my best friend in about 20 minutes. All right, I let him sit beside me, watch everything. I asked him, hey, why don't you be in the movie? You know, you walk there. No, I cannot. You know, but he was very flattered that I would ask him to be in the movie. And then by about 30 minutes, he had to leave the set because his shift is over. And he told his lieutenant, take care of them, all right? Whatever they need, take care of them. You know. And then I made the lieutenant my best friend also, right? So do that, right? When you're in a situation whereby, you know, I don't bribe, okay? I might buy them a meal, but I'm not going to give them money because you do not want to feed that culture, that mindset, right? So make the people who are the important people your friend, okay? Don't put on an attitude, I'm a director, I'm not going to bother, okay? Be the humblest person there and make them your friend. That will really help you. So we were able to do anything we want. In fact, there was a tour boat that comes on this side of the dock and they will come. Our military people will stop them. You know, because it's an open dock. They actually can walk, right? But our military people will say, stop. And they have the military uniform, everybody stop. Okay, right? So it was so fun, you know? So learn what are the do's and don'ts at every culture you go to. Everyone is different. Mongolia is different from Vietnam. Vietnam is different from India, right? And then as you are doing it, you will also grow because you're learning, right? It's all about how we grow too. Okay, so it's 1 minute to 12:30. Do you have yes?
So I know the whole purpose is to train people.
Hours, yes.
Yes, over there, but while you're doing the whole process, you're making a film.
Yes.
That film, do you sell it? Where do you show it? Who's the target audience?
Oh, my films are all distributed internationally and in the US. So I didn't make a film just to train people. I actually make a film. Training the people is the secondary objective, right? The primary objective is still to make a film. So I want to make a film. Then I feel like, oh, why do I go to Vietnam to make the film? And then I train them at the same time. So since you asked that question, I'll do a shameless advertisement. On Thursday, my latest movie, Once Upon a Time in Vietnam, is being screened at 3 o'clock in the worship center, I think, yeah. Right, Thursday. So I haven't started distributing that movie yet because we are in the process of negotiating some theatrical releases, right? All my other movies are now online at almost every platform you can think of, okay? And then they are distributed internationally. So does that answer your question?
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm not making a movie just to train people.
Okay,
It's
so
too expensive.
I have one more question.
Yeah.
Is that when you're training, because you're working with people, you have to work with their pace. You have to make sure So how do you finish the scenes that are set for the day? The production the production slows down?
No.
Or?
No. I have good people. Right? Yeah. I have good people that come with me. Yeah.
Donald, would you speak a little bit to the fact that you're working in some countries that are a bit hostile to the gospel and where legalities from the government about speaking. How do you get into
No.
those countries?
Okay,
and then,
sure. I will. It's 12:30. If those of you need to leave, go ahead. I want to respect your time. So, yes.
How do you get into those countries with film, and then how do you work within those countries, doing a Christian film, talking about God, praying out loud and openly? Can you speak to that a little bit?
Mongolia was easy. Mongolia, because we were filming out in the grassland. Mongolia is an open country. It's an open democracy. Very corrupt but open. Okay. I'm being recorded. But Vietnam, we are filming in a city, so we had to be a lot more careful. However, Mongolia was interesting. We wanted to apply for film permit, okay? And they said, the guy, I met a very famous actor in Mongolia, and he said this to me. He said, you're shooting out in the grassland, you know? It's like we're shooting in the Navajo desert, right? What do you care about permit? Nobody's going to be there. No police will be there. So we did not. But for Vietnam, we had to. So we applied for a film permit. And the film permit cost us $10,000. Yes. It shouldn't cost $10,000. And they want it in US dollars. There's a reason why they wanted it in US dollars, okay? So, but I got a receipt for $10,000. I'm okay, all right? I'm gonna guess the real money is probably $500, right? But I got a receipt for $10,000. So we got a permit, and we were supposed to have legal police people that come on our shoot every day, but they came on the first day for like an hour, and then they never turned up after that. And we're like, yeah, thank God. Does that answer your question? Yeah, we have to. Yes, a lot of countries you have to get the permit. Once you get the permit, you're okay.
Yeah.
But Vietnam is really interesting.
Yes.
Not only do we need to get the film permit, all right? Every city we go to, we need a separate permit, right? And that one we didn't have to pay, right? I don't think.
Well, I think it was included.
Yeah, it's included, but you still have to get them to sign off that you can film in my city. You go to another place, you can film in my city. Whereas most countries, once you get a film permit, you can shoot, right? So check that out carefully, right? I was shocked. I didn't know that I had to get a separate permit.
And some of them were a little tricky to negotiate.
Yeah.
Like a lot, like the one on the dock.
Yeah.
The one in Hanoi City, that one Market, that one was also tricky.
But you know what? Thank God they shut the whole street for us to shoot. At the end, it was amazing.
You just had to talk to them.
Yeah.
Give yourself time.
Yeah. Okay, so
Thank you.
that's it. But if you want to speak to any one of us, and including David, he was with me for the Mongolia film. Feel free. You know. Okay. Thank you.